This is Walter Cronkite in New York. We're about to present for your enjoyment a panel program called It's News to Me. We'd like you to play the game with us, and we'll start in just 20 seconds.
It's news to me. The American Oil Company, the drillers who produce oil, the scientists who refine it, the seamen who transport it, the men who deliver it, and the Amoco dealers who serve you. All the Amoco people present It's News to Me. And now, let's meet the panel on It's News to Me as they examine this object that played a part in the news this week. John Henry Falk, raconteur and humorist. Nina Foch, star of the current MGM film Executive Suite. Quentin Reynolds, famous author and editor. Our own delightful Anna Lee, and your host and moderator, news correspondent and commentator, Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. We're happy to have you with us tonight on It's News to Me. Our panelists are going to be asked questions about this loot and other items like it which played a part in this week's news. If they know the answer, they'll give it. Otherwise, they'll make one up. And it'll be up to our studio contestants to see if they can tell the bluff from the real story. Now, our first contestant, please. Miss Jamel Jackson. Jamel, is it?
That's right, Janelle.
Janelle. Janelle Jackson of Waynesboro, Mississippi.
That's right.
What do you do in Waynesboro, Mississippi?
Well, that's where I live.
Oh, well, that's one of the very best things to do in Waynesville, Mississippi. I bet everybody in Waynesville, Mississippi enjoys that, don't they?
Yes, they really do.
What else do you do in Waynesville, Mississippi besides live?
Well, I go to college in a nearby city.
Oh, good. You're not going to name... Oh,
Mississippi.
I thought you weren't going to name the city. You're certainly a Waynesville, Mississippi booster. It's very good. What are you doing in New York?
Well, I'm sightseeing and I'm attending Power School.
Oh, Power School. Model school?
That's right.
Are you? I think that we can predict success for you practically automatically.
Oh, thank you.
You know how we play News to Me, Miss Jackson. I give you $30 here. Your job is to judge the answers of our panel, you see. Here's the $30 with which to play now. Every time your judgment is correct, I give you an additional $10, but if the panel fools you, I have to take 10 of those dollars away. Okay?
Okay.
Gee, it better be. I don't know what we'd do if you said it wasn't okay. There's a slide up there, a picture. It's for our first question. Take a look at our screen, panel. In the Middle West this week, this gentleman, buttoning up his shirt, might well have said, after losing my shirt 4 times in a row, it's nice to keep it for a change. Can you give us the answer, the story on that, Quentin Reynolds?
Yes, I think so. And you're quite right. For 4 years, he's been shooting for the jackpot, and each time he did lose his shirt. But this year, after 4 wonderful tries, he finally made it. And, of course, that's Robert Young of Chicago, who is now chairman of the board of our wonderful New York Central Railroad. He finally gained control of it this week and is now chairman of the board.
Do you accept that answer, Miss Jackson?
No, I don't.
When you said you did not accept that answer, you won yourself $10. Anna Lee, what is that story?
Isn't that our old friend Casey Stengel?
I have a hunch it's Quentin Reynolds' old friend, too. He was really loving Miss Jackson on that one.
Ohio at the All-Star game.
That's right. For 4 years, his American League team did not win the All-Star game, but this year he came through with
Well, I like the New York Central Railroad so much. It was in my mind. I thought I'd just give it a little boost, Walter.
There's a man bucking for a season pass if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, but Mr. Young didn't ever sweat like that. He said he had that railroad in his pocket from the start. He comes from Texas, Walter.
You live in Croton now. You've got to use that New York Central every day of your life. You better be nice to Mr. Young.
Me and Walter's got you outvoted, haven't we, boy?
Yes, sir. We're going up to Croton tonight, too, aren't we, John, after this? For our next question, I will ask you to watch and listen to Frank Wayne as an irate Irishman.
Now, I don't mind the government sticking their nose in where they're not asked. But in the matter of getting married, I think that's another thing. Picture it, if you will. The bridal couple wheeling their hoops down the aisle. stopping for a game of jacks on the way out. Why, there'll be no more of that love, honor, and obey stuff. From now on, they'll be promising to love, honor, and burp each other.
If that be the case, they should live happily ever after, I should think. I'd like you to tell us that story, John Henry Falk.
Well, the Irish government, obviously, Frank Wayne's very excellent rendition there. The Irish government thinks the young folks and has passed, or made a suggestion at least, the young folks should get married younger. They're waiting too long in Ireland to get married.
Miss Jackson, how about that answer? Accept it?
No, I don't.
Honey, I'm not
Miss
a
Jackson.
Jackson girl.
I'm sorry. That will cost you $10 because that is the answer indeed.
No,
The
that's a
Irish.
big problem over there, Walter.
It's a very serious problem, apparently. And the Irish government, in disclosing after a 6-year survey, I think it was, that the men are getting married at the average age of 37.
Yeah.
Suggested marriages all the way down to the age of 14, I think. Something.
Well,
I
think
think
it's
60% of them aren't marrying until they're over 14 years old.
I could go into this further by asking you for a
the best idea to come out of Ireland, because I think it's a wonderful idea to get married young. I hope all my children get married at 16 and have at least 10 children apiece.
Well, bully for you.
I want to vote for
Give me
37-year-old
47
marriages.
You'll have no trouble at all getting
That's
visas.
soon
for them.
enough. Good enough.
It's funny,
Well,
the
I'm
only-
the newly married in the group, and I think 30 is an excellent age. That's when I did it.
19.
Nina Bosch, are you just telling us right out like that? I'll be doggone.
funny, the only Irish...
did, Newsweek did.
I don't know. Too late.
Our next question, panel, and Miss Jackson, concerns this marker here. This week, in the East, everybody who saw it knew not only who was who, but who was where. Now, do you know that story? Let me see. Nina Foch.
Well, I think that belongs to Governor Minor, as you can see, of New Jersey, who was having trouble around Trenton because every time he left his car unattended, why, young chaps or old chaps, but anyway, chaps would pick up the license plate because it said New Jersey 1. And so he got a little tired of all of that, and he had, with the permission of the state vehicle thingamy, put up this license plate for him that no one would steal.
You accept that answer, Miss Jackson.
Yes, I do.
Miss Jackson, accepting that, it cost you another $10. That's a shame. I have to take that away from you. Who knows the answer to that one? Clinton?
Well, actually, that was put on a car up in Lake George, New York, where we're having a conference of all of the governors. And our governor, Tom Dewey, just wanted to show that New York State could be even more hospitable in that silly state you come from.
Walter, make him quit.
And so every governor had his own plate just exactly like that. There were 48 of them.
That's indeed the case. New York State, July 11th to 14th, 1954, the National Governors Conference, and New York State was the host up at Lake George. That's the answer to that one, and I see, Miss Jackson, that you won $20. Been very good to have you with us playing. If you'd like to see It's News to Me in person, or perhaps be on the show as a contestant, write to It's News to Me, CBS Television, 485 Madison Avenue, New York, 22, New York. We'll be back for round 2 in just a minute.
Hello, I'm Bob Dixon. I've been sitting here looking at the ads for the new cars in some of these magazines. Boy, they're really beautiful, all right. Roomy with nice, sleek lines. And the ads tell us about all the features the makers have thought of to add to our convenience and our pleasure. Well, a new car costs money. Any car costs money. I guess next to our homes, our car is probably our biggest investment. And so we ought to keep it in top condition, just the same as we do our homes. Now, for instance, the gasoline we use. Now, we want a gas that gives us plenty of mileage and power. And we want to know not only what that gas can do for our engine, but also what it can do to our engine. And that brings us to the big point about Amoco gas. Amoco gas is the one premium motor fuel that has no additive. It gives us power without penalty.
You see, an additive doesn't always burn completely and can leave a harmful metallic deposit in your car's engine. Another thing, no other motor fuel offered to the motorist is refined to as high an anti-knock value as Amoco gas. So, to keep your car, new or old, running better longer, the answer is Amoco gas.
Now may we have our next studio contestant on its news to me. Mr. Louis Rocco
That's correct.
from San Francisco, California. What do you do out in San Francisco, Mr. Rocco?
I'm a restaurant owner.
Oh, you are in the fabulous restaurant city of San Francisco.
One of the best, if I may say so myself.
Why don't you just tell us the name of your restaurant?
Original Joe's.
Original Joe's?
Fine Italian food.
All right, we'll keep that in mind next time we're in San Francisco. What are you doing in New York?
I just come in from Rome, and I'm on my way to San Francisco, and there wasn't enough space in the air service, and I know my wife's looking on. I'm kind of glad to be on this show.
Well, that's one way of telegraphing your next move or your lack of same. You know how we play It's News to Me, Mr. Rocco. Here's $30, and remember, every time your judgment of an answer is correct, I'll give you an additional $10. But if it's incorrect, if the panel fools, you'll have to take 10 of those away.
I haven't read a paper in three weeks, so I hope I'm doing all right.
You're practically a patsy for this panel tonight, almost, aren't you? Well, they may not fool you too much. You can't tell. Here's the first question. It's time for our newsman's question of the week, or in this case, our newswoman's question of the week. It's from Janet Kern of the Chicago American, an old friend of ours and a very lovely one. This week, a bonanza came to New Jersey, where a woman who had taken a flyer told her story. Do you know that story, Anna Lee?
That's the story of the lady, I think she's well over 60, Walter, who has just come back from a flight. She flew herself all around Africa, I think, and Europe, and she came back to New Jersey this week.
You accept that answer, Mr. Rocco?
No.
Mr. Rocco, besides losing an airplane seat today, you lost yourself $10. Indeed, that is exactly what happened. Mrs. Marion Hart, the noted woman flyer, landed her single-engine Bonanza monoplane at Teterboro, New Jersey this week, completing a one-year flight, 35,000 miles in 25 countries. Mrs. Hart is with us tonight. Come out, Marion Hart. This is a very remarkable lady indeed. Can you imagine taking a single-engine airplane and just simply taking off from New York City, did you, Teterboro? Was that where you started?
Well, I took off really from Bedford, Massachusetts. I had my plane fixed up there.
Mm-hmm. And then launched a trip around the world, practically.
Well, not quite.
But you didn't fly over the...
Yeah, no, I didn't fly over the Pacific.
And you didn't make the Iron Curtain countries either, did you?
No, I didn't try that.
Little difficulty there, I imagine. Why did you decide on this flight, flying your own plane?
Well, I had a good plane. I thought I might as well use it.
Just for a trip?
Just for a trip.
Just to sightsee around?
Just for first.
And I think on that flight, you flew from west to east, that is, from Europe back to the United States in a single-engine plane for the first time that anyone has made that flight since the 1930s?
I flew from Newfoundland to Shannon. That's the first time since the 30s.
From Newfoundland to Shannon it was?
Yes.
So that's the west to east flight,
That's the west to east. No, I couldn't do
Well, I
it.
never could tell directions very well.
No, I came back the other way, the short hops, to Iceland and Greenland.
Well, isn't that new, too?
No, everybody does that.
Oh, just everybody. Just takes their single-engine airplane and fly these distances, of course. Did you have any difficulty on this flight? Any thrilling experiences?
No, just sightseeing.
That's amazing.
Is that a chronometer on your watch? Did you use that to navigate?
Well, no, I didn't. I got that just before I came home.
You can use that to navigate, can't you?
Well, I'm not sure if it's quite good enough.
The one thing Mrs. Marion Hart certainly does know is how to fly an airplane, and I think that your British co-pilot who came back with you reported that he didn't believe there's any of the ladies in the British Isles who would do the same thing you did.
Well, my English co-pilot, he got himself nearly into a little trouble here.
Oh, he did?
Uh-huh. He
What
came
happened?
over without a visa. And when he got to Boston, they didn't know what to do with him. So Finally, they decided to enter him as a juvenile delinquent, and he was paroled in my custody.
Thank you very much, Marion Hart, for being with us on It's News to Me. I think that's rather fantastic, taking a single-engine airplane flying around the world, and she just doesn't see anything to it. It's just another trip, just sightseeing. Now, a few moments ago, for this next question, you all had a chance to examine this object here. It's an ornamental lute, and it was a great favorite with its owner until he had to face the music himself. Can you tell us that story, John Henry Falk?
Well, it's in kind of the shape its owner's in, too. The stomach of it is, leastways. I think that belonged to King Farouk's, and the Egyptian government put it on sale here in New York, all his jewelry.
Do you accept that answer, Mr. Rocco?
I think I will.
I think you've won yourself $10. That's exactly the answer. This lute indeed was a part of the fabulous jewel collection of ex-King Farouk of Egypt. Yeah, John?
Were you ever there in Cairo, Walter, when you were going through?
I was in Cairo a year ago today.
I saw a whole pack of... You weren't. Well, they'd already got shed of it by that time. I saw a whole pack of that stuff.
When I was there, that was a big, big mandolin, but it was on a diet.
Even as ex-King Farouk should have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is now at Gimbel's here in New York. Bought up part of this collection of ex-King Farouk's, an $8 million collection, I think it was. And there, I gather, have some of these objects up for sale. Isn't it wonderful? And Gimbel's let us bring it around tonight, even if it's great value to show to you here. Now for this next question, let's watch and listen to Frank Wayne as an ardent Mexican fan of the bullfight.
What a bullfight I saw last Sunday. The matador meets the bull. The bull turn around and curtsy. The matador meets the bull again. The bull turn around and smile. 10 smiles and 8 curtsies later, the matador stab the bull. But the crowd don't stand up and shout, "Ole!" But from the bull, there comes a long, low moan. He's so embarrassed.
Wayne marches on. This time it seems that a miss was worth almost as much as a smile, or something of the kind. Can you tell us the story, Quentin Reynolds?
Well, yes. This is out of Mexico City, and it develops that the fans down there have been very annoyed lately by the lethargy of the bullfighters. So they just had to make a new rule, that if a bull makes 5 passes at a matador, and the bull is still alive, the bull is given a reprieve, and the bullfighter is fined. This is something new in bullfighting.
Mr. Rocco, does that strike you as the version of the story?
Well, if it is, it's a new one. I've seen bullfights.
Do you accept Mr. Reynolds' answer?
I do not.
Mr. Rocco, I'm pleased to say that you win $10. I'd hate to think that Mr. Reynolds had fooled you with that one. And, Nina Foch?
I think that's that model who was American model who was decided to become a bullfighter, and she was knocked down 3 or 4 times and finally made it. And they say, the aficionados say that she's going to be a good bullfighter.
Susan
She wore Bravo lipstick, I've been told.
And that was no bull.
And, doggone it, we almost got through that whole question without anybody saying that, and you did. Betty Ford, former Broadway model and actress in Juarez, Mexico it was, that she made her debut as a bullfighter exactly as you described it, Nina Foch. Mr. Rocco, you carry away $40. It's been a pleasure having you with us on It's News. Now we come to a special feature on It's News to Me, which we call Eyewitness. Here the panel cross-examines a guest who actually saw a famous news event take place. Now let's meet tonight's eyewitness. Will you come out, please? We're not going to tell you the name, panel, of our eyewitness because we feel it would give away the event, so we're just going to call him Mr. X. Panel, if you can uncover the news event within 2 minutes, our guest receives $50. If you do not guess the news event, Mr. X will win $100 by beating you. Sir, I want from you just the month and the day, not the year, of the news event at which you were an eyewitness.
The month, Walter, was April, and the day was the 15th.
April the 15th. Now, before we get started, let's let our home audience know the event. Okay, panel, ready for questioning? You, John Henry Falk, start now.
Did this happen on land?
Yes.
Did it happen on the American continent?
Yes.
In the United States, in the eastern part of the United States?
Yes.
Did this happen this year?
Yes, it did.
Had it something to do with sports?
Yes, it did.
Had it something to do with fighting?
No, ma'am.
Was it a happy occasion?
It was a very happy occasion.
Did it have to do with baseball?
Yes, it did.
Are you a big league baseball player?
Yes, I am. I hope so.
Are you in the American League?
Yes, I am.
You're not with the Yankees, though, are you?
No, not fortunately, I'm not.
Was this a famous first of some kind?
I think you could say so.
Yes, I would call it first.
Did it concern the American League?
Yes, it did.
The Yankees?
No, New York wasn't involved in it.
Listen, partner, did it have anything to do with that Band-Aid over your right eye?
No, I had nothing to do with the Band-Aid.
In other words, this was a game of some kind. It was won. This was
Yes,
But I'm absolutely out of my field. I don't know anything about baseball at all. Did you catch a particularly long ball or something?
No.
Did you make a home run or something?
No.
You did something
Did you
splendid.
pitch a no-hit game?
No.
You're a pitcher.
Yes, I am.
You're with the Baltimore team.
Yes.
You're Bob Turley, and you hit your head in the All-Star game the other day. But you struck out, what, a great many men on April 15th for a record, right?
No, I struck out a few men, but it was no record.
That's not the event, anyway, Quentin.
Annalee,
Well, I
take it
think
away.
Quint should take it because it's more in his field.
it's over now. Game's over.
But it happened, you said, in Baltimore.
No, I didn't say it happened in Baltimore, but it
But
did.
It did happen.
Careful. You whipped them. Bob, you whipped them. They couldn't get it. Tell them the event.
Well, the event was the first Major League Baseball game in Baltimore in over 50 years. 52 years to be exact.
Yes, sir. Big League Baseball came back to Baltimore at that time. And Bob, what part did you play in that game?
Well, I was the winning pitcher. I pitched the first game in Baltimore in over 50 years.
And won it.
Yes.
And won $100 playing It's News to Me with us tonight, Bob. How does it feel being in Baltimore instead of back in St. Louis where the Browns were moved out to go to Baltimore?
Well, Walter, it feels real good there on account of the Baltimore fans are real good to the ball players, and everything is wonderful there. St. Louis wasn't drawing too good, but in Baltimore the enthusiasm is really good, and it is something to see.
I think you got some Baltimoreans out there. Bob, tell me one thing. I think, unfortunately, because the position Baltimore has in the American League race right now, which I regret to say is down at the bottom, you're practically an impartial observer. Who do you think is going to win the American League pennant this year?
Well, there's 3 clubs, and it's going to be hard to say who wins, but I would say the club that can beat New York between Cleveland and Chicago will win the American League.
And you think that they'll beat New York, one of them?
No, I never said they would beat them. If New York beats both of them, then New York will win.
Okay, Bob Turley. I think you hedged that one pretty carefully. Thanks for being with us. A lot of good luck to you. Quite a boy, 23-year-old Bob Turley, star of the Baltimore Orioles. If you are an eyewitness to an important news event and would like to be on It's News to Me, write a letter to It's News to Me, CBS Television, 485 Madison Avenue, New York, 22, New York. We'll continue the game in just 30 seconds.
Hi. This is an Amoco road map, a very handy and important item to have if you're going to take a trip for yourself. But even more important than that, before you start that trip, is to see that your car's engine is protected against the hot and heavy driving ahead. And that means, first of all, a change of oil. Now, if the dripstick shows a low level, ask for Permalube motor oil, the oil that cleans as it lubricates. Yes, friends, a trouble-free trip starts at the Amoco sign of greater values from Maine to Florida.
And now may we have our next audience representative on It's News to Me. Yeoman Seaman Wayne Aston, is that?
That's right.
From Milton, Wisconsin. You stationed in New York or just passing through?
No, I'm on my way to Norfolk.
Norfolk, Virginia.
That's right.
Are you at sea?
Well, I will be, I think.
You know what kind of a ship you're going to be on?
I'm going aboard the USS Fulton. That's a subtender.
Ah, well, good luck to you when you get to see Yeoman Seaman Aston, and good luck to you on It's News to Me. You understand how we play. $30 is yours at the moment. Every time your judgment of an answer is correct, I'm going to give you an additional $10, but don't let the panel fool you, because I'll have to take $10 away. Are you ready? Here's your first question. There's a slide up there, a picture I'd like for you to look at right now on our screen. The hands you see there were busy in Europe this week trying to pull the fat out of the fire. Will you tell us that story, Anna Lee?
Well, that's a story from England, Walter. Prime Minister Churchill called a cabinet meeting this week to see if anything could be done about the meat situation. You know, meat has just been taken off the ration for the first time in, I think, 14 and a half years, and everybody was delighted about it, and then suddenly the butchers skyrocketed the prices, and there was so much meat around, nobody would buy the stuff, that they had to do something about it. And I think that picture must have been taken at the meeting. I think the hands there belong to Winston Churchill and Richard Butler, I think, Chancellor of the Exchequer, and probably, I think, William Lloyd George, who's Minister of Food.
Accept that answer, Seaman Aston?
I think that's wrong.
I think, Seaman Aston, you've won yourself $10.
What was the answer to that story? So I picked that's Dulles and Mendes Brandt.
Indeed, as you can see right there now.
What's his name there? All of them
I think
over there trying to clear that business up in Geneva.
There we are. There we are, right. Secretary Eden, French Premier Mendes France in the center, and Secretary of State Dulles regarding the Indo-Chinese situation. Just time, perhaps, to take one quick look at this object I have in my hand for question number 2. Electronic gadget that experts in New York claim may soon make a pain a pleasure. Could you tell us the story? Let me see. Quentin Reynolds.
Oh, that's that new painless drill dentists have invented.
Well, that's a good, sharp answer. You accept it?
I think that's right.
You're right.
I think you won $10. Indeed. Indeed it is. This drill was furnished to us by the Cavitron Equipment Corporation, which brought it out, and dentists are going to have it in their offices, they say, this fall sometime. I think, Seaman Aston, you would have won another $10 there on that third question the way you were going. So you carry out $60, and it was a pleasure to have you playing. We'll have another look at our panel in just 30 seconds.
Sunburn, murder, sleep. For painful sunburn, there's nothing like greaseless Noxzema. Medicated Noxzema brings soothing relief in as little as 3 seconds, even to the most severe cases. And Noxzema never stains your clothes. Yes, Noxzema lets you sleep in cool comfort. For years, lifeguards and first aid hospitals at most famous American beaches have relied on greaseless Noxzema for sunburn. Try it.
And so we wind up proceedings on tonight's session of It's News to Me. We hope the program has proved enjoyable, perhaps even sharpened your interest in the news. This is Walter Cronkite saying good night for our panel of Anna Lee, Quentin Reynolds, Nina Foch, and John Henry Falk. We'll see you next week on It's News to Me.
It's News to Me has been a Mark Goodson, Bill Godman production, produced in association with the CBS Television Network. Anna Lee's Gown by Gravois. This is Bob Dixon. Be sure to join us next week when Noxzema, the most famous skin cream in America.